Here we go, and you're on.
Thank you. Welcome to our contemplative time in the service. I will do a reading followed by a time of silence. Then Jackson will sing, and then I follow that with a treatment. So I invite you now to get comfortable. Close your eyes or just lower your gaze. Breathe in deeply and then let go. Feel yourself settle into your deeper self. As I read from Dr. Ernest Holmes' books, This Thing Called You. The divine is always present and appears wherever recognized. As you enter more completely into conscious union with life, you will realize that the universe holds as much good for you as you can take. You rob no person when you discover your own good. You limit no person when you express a greater degree of livingness. You harm no one by being happy. You steal from no one by being prosperous. You hinder no person's evolution when you consciously enter into the kingdom of your good and possess it today. Believe that you are governed by divine intelligence, that you are directed by divine guidance. Know that good is the only power there is.
I see joy, I see peace, I see goodness surrounding me. I see love in every breath I breathe. I see God in everything. I see happiness, I see freedom. I see the beauty that lives in me. I see perfection in what life brings. I see God in everything.
How grateful I am to know God the good, that I see God in everyone, in everything. As we gather together this morning, know that all of us are focusing on the good. As we do, it allows the good to become more available to us. For our good is our choice. I know that we choose the greatest, the highest good that is right and perfect for each and every one of us. The greatest and highest good that is right and perfect for our church, our community, our country, and our world. How grateful I am that this is so. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Sorry, I can't unmute.
You are unmuted. We can hear you.
Good. I will sing then. I know joy, I know peace, I know goodness surrounding me. I know love in every breath I breathe. I know God in everything. I know happiness, I know freedom. I know the beauty that lives in me. I know peace, perfection in what life brings. I know God's in everything. I know God's in everything.
Thank you, Catherine and Jackson. So, good morning again. This morning, we're going to be talking about living in the question. The theme for this month is open to possibilities. And in our conversations we were having before the service started, and in the general energy of Humboldt, it seems to me that everyone is getting ready. We're getting ready for we don't know what. We're willing to open up, and yet, what does that mean? And so there is a definite question there that we're living in. And one of the things I wanted to think about for a moment is what did we learn from being sent to our rooms, so to speak? Just think about that for a minute. What did I learn from being in shelter in place? Dr. Holmes says nature will not let us stay in one place too long. She will let us stay just long enough to gather the experience necessary to the unfolding and advancement of the soul. Nature demands change in order that we may advance. When a change comes, we should welcome it with a smile on the lips and a song in the heart. That's in the Science Mind. We certainly didn't welcome it back a year ago this month with a smile on our lips and a song in our heart. In fact, we went into it with trepidation. Some of us went into it with anger about having to stay home and everything shutting down. I mean, I'm sure that I know that you have, as I have, driven around our beautiful little town and saw and have seen the places that are no longer there, that had to close because of the pandemic and will not be coming back. And so that is scary. And so I can see that the way we entered into it was with fear. And yet, the way we can move forward into this new, into the question, is with a smile on our lips and a song in the heart. I always feel this way when spring comes. The closer we get to spring, the closer I am in an eager anticipation. I start looking at the things in my garden and trimming and doing the things that need to be done in order to have a beautiful garden. And there's just something about life in spring that brings us a sense of eager anticipation of what might come. And yet we know in our teaching that we have to create it. So what are we going to create with a smile on our lips and a song in our heart? In fact, here's a question for us that I think is really important right now. And this was but one that Albert Einstein asked. The most important question a person can ask is the universe a friendly place? And I noticed that if you notice on the right side of these clouds here, it sort of looks like a grumpy face. You could see a mouth and a nose, and it sort of looks grumpy. And I think that a lot of us have felt that the world was kind of grumpy over the past year. We haven't felt like it was a friendly place. We were constantly being fed gloom and doom stories. And fear, to me, is the main virus that's going on right now. And thank God, it feels like it's starting to lessen. Fear is so easy to slip into, even when we're immersed in these teachings. I mean, I've been doing this stuff since I've been a minister for 35 years this year, and I studied for 6 years before that. And, so I've been in the science of mind for a really long time. And yet I remember one day coming home from the store a few months ago, and as I put my key in my lock, it was like this feeling of relief came over me. And I thought, what is that about? And I walked in and I put my purse and stuff down and I sat down and I just thought for a minute, why would I suddenly feel so relieved to finally get home? And I understood at that point that I had been out to the grocery store. I'd been over to the center. I don't remember what other errand I had to do, but there was something else. And I was doing them in fear. And I didn't realize how much I was in fear until I felt myself with that wave of relief as I was unlocking my door. Because suddenly this feeling was, I'm safe. I'm safe. So to me then, for a while, I've been thinking that the universe is not a friendly place. So how about you? Have you been thinking that? That's one belief we have to change. Because the universe really is a friendly place. But the interesting thing about that is that, there's that old story about the man that's sitting outside the roadway into a little town, and somebody rides up on their horse and they say, "Excuse me, sir, can you tell me if this is a friendly place? What's this town like?" And the man says, "What was the town like that you left?" And the man says, "Oh, it was awful. There were thieves and there were, well, nowadays they would say there's drug addicts and there's thieves and there's all this misbehaving going on." And the man says, "Well, that's what this town is like too." And the guy rides on. And another person rides up, and they again ask, "Could you tell me what this town is like?" And the man again asks, "What was the town like that you just left?" And they said, "Oh, we loved it. There were so many friendly people, so many welcoming people. There was jobs. It was just really a good feeling." And the man said, "Well, this town is like that too." And that to me just is another story about how we're taking our consciousness with us wherever we are. And it's important for us to pay attention to the consciousness that we're carrying around. Because the truth is that with our consciousness, we are creating our reality. We're creating or attracting what's in our predominant consciousness. That's one thing about the science of mind. You can't get away with anything. And in fact, you constantly have to reevaluate yourself all the time. So Dr. Holmes says in Holmes' Reader, "There is a greater mind within each, which may be called upon. There is nothing too small or too great for this mind. Listen, be receptive, believe absolutely, be convinced. The one with a great purpose in life is always conscious and unconsciously holding this purpose up to the universal influx, thus causing an outpouring of divine wisdom through his or her own individual mind." Believe absolutely. That's what our teaching calls us to do, is to believe absolutely in the good. I had a conversation not long ago about if God is good, as you keep saying, they said to me, then why is all this bad stuff happening to people? And once again, I have to say, God's not doing anything to us. God is doing things through us. And in fact, there isn't really God and us. There's only God as us. And God being this divine energy that is moving and flowing and working through everything there is, not just people, but animals and plants and everything. It is everything. It has to, we call it forth by our predominant thinking and feeling. So our work is to pay attention, to listen. What is our self-talk like? And to be receptive, because as soon as you're ready to be open and receptive to greater good in your life, the universe does everything to make it so. We've been playing a lot in the WOW group with love notes, and in fact in some of our classes as well, in this idea of love notes, and just being eager, not declaring what those love notes should be, but be eager and receptive and ready to receive them. And boy, there's some great stories about how the universe is just giving. In fact, I got one the other day, yesterday in the mail. Most of you know that I wrote a book called And So It Is, a book of uncommon prayer, which is a daily book. You know, you read one a day. And I wrote this book back in, or got it published in 2013, and I got a huge check from Hay House for it, or from Balboa Press. What do they call that when you get, I don't remember, but anyway, it was like, wow.
Royalties.
Royalties, thank you very much. My mind was having a little absent-mindedness there. But I got a royalty check, and it was like, wow. Now, I used to get them every quarter, and I haven't gotten one in quite a while, so maybe it's for last year, I don't know. But, you know, it was really nice to see that. Or either that or my book suddenly has been being bought by people, I don't know. But I think it's because I am really consciously open to receiving love notes from the universe. And they come in all different ways. And I know that if you open yourself up to that, you'll be surprised at that outpouring of divine wisdom. Not just divine wisdom, but divine good, divine love. It's a wonderful experience. The Dalai Lama says, one thing is for certain, given human beings love of truth, justice, peace, and freedom, creating a better, more compassionate world is a genuine possibility. I'm really excited about the possibilities that we humans have as time goes on, as we move out of the world of fear into a world of genuine possibilities. I mean, so many people keep saying, oh, I can't wait till things get back to normal. Well, they're never going to be what normal was before. We have to create a new normal. And then as soon as we get settled in that new normal, something will happen and we'll create another new normal. Not that something bad has to happen, but, you know, even in your own life, I'm sure there's been times when you got into this normal that you liked, and then you got this new wonderful job. And so that created a whole new normal. But that creating a compassionate world is the thing that I think we should put at the top of our list. Really focusing on knowing that all of the division, all of the chaos isn't necessary any longer. That we can live in a kinder, compassionate world. And it's up to each one of us to do that. It's up to each one of us to really pay attention to our thinking. Where am I letting myself get angry? Where am I letting myself get frustrated? Where am I letting myself have plumitis, which to me is poor little old me syndrome? Where am I doing these things? And is that the way I want to live? No. I want to live in a kinder, more compassionate world. And I believe that that's at the heart of all of us, to live in a kinder, more compassionate world. We do have the love of truth and justice and peace and freedom. And we're still coming from that mindset that these things have to be gained through unrest. But what if we just all took a deep breath and allowed ourselves to let go of that feeling that we have to try to control or force or maintain anything? Why don't we just let the spirit of the divine that lives in us, as us, through us, create what it is? Absolute love. I know that we can do this. And I'm hoping that for this spring season, that each one of us takes this idea in hand and we plant seeds of peace and love and compassion in our consciousness, as well as planting those wonderful seeds in our gardens. I think that as people who practice the science of mind, this is not just something we can do. This is something we're supposed to be doing. I think that all of us are here in this time right now, having studied this teaching, so that we can be part of the transformational team. The ones that are making a huge difference. And you might think, well, how could I make a difference? I'm just one person. Well, yes, you are just one person. And guess what? Everybody is just one person. Everybody is just the universe. If we want to go esoteric, there's really only one here. So why then would I want to create any wobbles in my world? Any chaos? Peace, freedom, kindness, compassion. These are genuine possibilities. And let's make them probabilities. Let's make them real. Through our consciousness, we can do it. When Viktor Frankl found himself thrown into a concentration camp, he realized that the career questions, what do I want from life, what can I do to make myself happy, are not the proper questions. He felt the real question was, what is life asking of me? And what I've been talking about this morning is what I believe life, God, the force, first cause, whatever you want to call it, what it's asking of us is to be all that we can be in love, in compassion. I remember my teacher, Helen Street, saying one day that she met Dr. Raymond Charles Barker. No, it wasn't Barker, it was Dr. Bitzer at an elevator while they were waiting for an elevator. And she said she always wanted to ask him something and she didn't know what to ask him. So she suddenly said, well, how do you know how to use this teaching? And Dr. Bitzer looked at her and he says, I just do what's in front of me. I just do what's in front of me. So let's look more closely at what's in front of us. Maybe it's going out and cleaning up the highway. Maybe it's participating in some sort of thing, some sort of event that's helping our fellow human beings. Maybe it's allowing ourselves to be helped. But what I know at the bottom line, what life is asking us, what life is asking of us, is to be kind, to be loving. And we can do that. So let's say this affirmation together and then we'll treat. Claudia wrote the treatments this month, and they're good ones. So I'll read it and you can read it along with me. From the depths of my soul, I live freely and completely in the mystery of life. It is this patience with the mystery of living that feeds my spirit and gives expansive voice to all that I am. And so it is. So let's go into treatment. Gratefully, I acknowledge the one power, one presence, one life, one heart, one mind, the oneness that I am. That is all that there is. And I know in a more clearer way every day that this oneness is truly who I am, who is living in this body. I refuse to see any separation between God and myself any longer. I know there is just God. And so I declare, like Jesus did, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Or as we might say, if you've seen me, you've seen the presence. And how delightful it is to live in the presence, to know the truth about ourselves, that we are more than we could possibly ever imagine, that we are more powerful than we ever knew before, that we can set a thing in our consciousness and have that show up in our lives. And so I declare right now that we set peace in our consciousness. We set compassion and love and kindness in our consciousness. And I know that as we've done this, the whole universe rushes forth to make that our reality. That not only are we given opportunities to be loving and peaceful and compassionate and kind, but that happens to us as well. We are filled up, first and foremost, by the divine presence that is already all that we think we desire. And so we celebrate this with every fiber of our being. We celebrate coming closer to that idea that I am that I am. And I know for each one of us that this week we have an example. Something happens in our lives that shows us the truth of our being. That we are more powerful than we think we are. That we are love itself. And I know that we see that, we acknowledge it, and we remember it as a love note from the universe. And how wonderful that is. So I celebrate all of us today. And I celebrate knowing that each one of us have gained something to take with us into this wonderful adventure called life. And I know that each one of us is grateful, so grateful for the reminders of the truth of our being. I am grateful for the reminders of the truth of my being, and for being able to be reminded in community how powerful this is. So I release these words into divine law, knowing that they are already so, and so it is.